indicate its current negotiations with Jack Lee. Brian has a copy of that sale contract there, which I'm sure he's happy to provide to both Eric and Manny.
Yeah, I've seen this.
Yeah, the copy I've had previously, sorry Joey, and yeah, I've got this. The previous copy I'd had of that was a photograph, so this is a better copy. I don't know if you've seen it before.
Yes, actually, Gail emailed this to me a few hours ago.
A few hours ago?
Yep.
Okay. So do you have permission from Gail to represent her or just listen?
Well, maybe I should first explain my role here.
I don't say, what did he say?
Sorry, Alex, did we lose you?
Yeah, I'm dropping in out, Tony. Is there any chance you could grab me on Fiverr? I think that might be a better solution.
Call you back in a second.
Thank you.
Let me first clarify what I perceive to be my role here.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a lot better for my...
Yeah, cheers.
Just,
So Manny Chiano is going to clarify his position because he's recently spoke to Gail.
Yeah, well, I'm in a difficult situation where people seem to like to talk to me. I've been talking to everybody except to my two good friends, Tony and Brian. That's why I wanted to talk to you. I think it's time to talk to you guys. It seems that whether there's base or not, people seem to trust me. It's based on trust. Gail said that I have her trust and confidence. That's why she appointed me to represent her. And I'm sure Scott's aware that I'm trying to carve out the situation. And this I have to. I'm very happy that the document starts with a statement of objectives, because it's our common objective. It says here that it is in the interest of the purchasers to help save the operations of Ocean Adventure and to treat all persons involved fairly. We have one goal: calm the current situation in order to facilitate a solidified operation with the intention of selling in good or in part. There's no quarrel about that. Although I feel that the latest communication of Alex to Gail is quite disruptive. So my point is, I'm not beholden to anybody, Brian. As Alex pointed out, I'm the lawyer of the company. And in order to pursue the interests of the company, and eventually the founding shareholders, I have to be clear, my interest is to protect the interests of the company and the founding shareholders. Remember where we came in, Brian? We go back a few steps back. Remember when the House of Gail was being taken over?
The House of
Gail.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I told Scott, and I'm sure Scott will confirm, I wanted to bring you in on the fray because I felt that you had the character, the personality, and the guts in order to take us from point A to point B. At that time, I said openly, why don't you take in Brian? Because I want to fight it out with Brian. And of course, Tony came in later on, and everybody's in agreement with Tony and Brian and Scott's management, as well as everybody helping out, took us from point A to point B. I think that's very clear. So in that sense, this objective was attained. Now my position, Brian, now is where do we now go from point B to point C? My perspective is we are now in a situation where the company has to sign an agreement with the SPMA in order to develop the 500-hectare property. Number two, Scott, management has been telling me about a lot of capital expenditures that have to be done. I think we can all agree that we have to take the company to a different level in order to survive. Now, whoever is prepared to infuse the capital, whoever is involved in the core business of maintaining a park, then we go with that. Now, what I did, Brian, was, to be honest, also I told Scott, Jack is not my horse. I'm betting on
Jack is what?
Not my horse. In other words, I brought in another investor who I felt might be worthy of serious consideration. I'm not beholden to Jack, number one. I'm not getting paid by Jack. I have to be very clear with that. I'm not getting paid by the company to do this. Gail is not paying me, engaging me to represent her. I'm doing this as a friend. And I don't want to do this actually. I'm caught in the middle. It's difficult for me trying to keep everybody happy and at the same time getting all this flack. So, having said that, Brian, number one, I have to make clear, again in the presence of Alex, I don't agree with that statement that this contract is binding. I don't even want to start off with that statement because I don't want a mediation procedure to start off with points of disagreement. I can come up with a written legal opinion telling everybody why I feel the contract is not binding. Number two, I think that the money that you advance should not even be reimbursed. And I will state my reasons why in writing. But again,
Can I just stop here? Let's not go down this.
no. The reason why I said this, we started off the meeting by Alex saying that here's the contract, you put this contract in my face. I'm telling it to you now, it's not worth the piece of paper it was written on. And I have to, look, I have to be blunt, Brian. You know how we met. We faced off in court, you attended the hostile corporate takeover. The same scenario, I thought you learned your lesson. I mean, to be blunt about it also. Now, I'm in a situation where I thought you wanted me to help you as a friend. You want me to continue?
Manny, let's change the tone.
No, that's why.
Let's go to an amicable tone.
No, that's why I said, well, I'm being amicable. I'm being amicable.
You know me, I'm never gonna change from that. Come on, let's
In fact, Brian, I'm
put this
still
on
being
the table.
amicable. You should see me when I'm angry.
Yeah, I know. Come
No,
on,
but-
don't rehash that old stuff.
Okay, it's old stuff, but I'm
Change
just
that.
saying, no, I did not want to start with that,
Okay.
Tony.
All right.
When
Let's
people
switch
show a
gears.
contract in my face and tell me it's binding, I get ticked off. Because I'm telling you, Brian,
okay.
that's not the way to
All
go.
right, you keep looking at me. You keep looking at me.
Yes.
You keep looking at me.
Why should I not look at you?
Who is in that agreement, Manny? Who's trying to have a conversation with you?
So,
Let's try.
so in what direction should I talk to Alex then?
Yes, you should talk to Alex.
Principally, Manuel.
Then I would appreciate if he was here. You know what I'm saying? Because
Well, he's on the phone.
I don't even.
Manny, he is right here. He's right here.
I
So,
don't know Alex Sinclair. Number two, it was you that texted me. The agreement, as far as I can see, is between you and Gail. And I've seen the video. It's between you and
okay,
Gail.
so to calmly,
Okay.
to just address a couple of the points that you said. We have it from a couple of attorneys that it is binding. You say it's not binding. That's what court systems are all about. So what we're
Yes.
trying to do here is we're trying to say to Gail, through you, is that Gail, the Jack Lynn offer jumping in here is unexpected and appreciated and all of that's great. So, and we need to deal with that. And so we're more than willing, you point out the fairness of it, we're more than willing to try to go forward here and agree with, on a split of Jack Lynn's payment for Gail's shares, and along with the money that he's supposedly, we don't even know what it is,
Okay.
he's going to give the DMI, which is Tony, myself, and Alex.
Hmm.
Okay? Our idea is that those two pieces of pie get put together, and then there's a split of that between DMI and Gail. Okay? Before we get into that, all of this is assuming for a moment, Manny, that the Lynn deal is real.
Yes.
And that it gets done in a certain reasonable period of time.
Okay.
If it's not real, or if it takes a long period of time, as things do here, then the park still needs to be run. And the best way for that to be run, in our opinion, is to do exactly what this agreement was designed to do in the first place, and that's to put in a management team in order to be able to run the park. And frankly, the only reason why that park is not dark already today is because Tony Shibley and his GPI group have been in there and trying to operate it and have gotten monies freed up from the bank, and there's all kinds of reasons, but clearly the park has benefited dramatically by Tony and DMI being involved in this. So,
And efforts from many others.
and so, did we lose you, Alex?
It's just
Yeah, we're reconnected. Yeah, he's gone.
Back.
Jump back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, so Manny, we're not here trying to say that we own the shares versus Jacqueline buying the shares from Gail or buying them the shares from us. What we're sitting here trying to say is that we have owned these shares since April 2nd, and that through Tony's trying to give Gail the chance to breathe and come clean and get okay with it, we are now to this point right now to where Gail is out representing that she's got these shares to sell. And we have legal counsel in our opinion that those shares are not for sale by Gail, that they're for sale for us, by us. If a deal comes through with Jacqueline, we're willing to take the DMI share, which we understand is $1 million.
No. I don't know where you got that idea.
From Manny, he said 500 for GPI and 500 for Brian.
No, before we talk about the numbers.
Okay,
Can-
all right, so DMI, whatever it is, and guys, if it's less than that, then where's this fairness quotient? And Gail's money comes together and we split it 70-30. 70% of it goes to Gail, 30% of it comes to us, all right? So that Gail gets her lion's share of it. She doesn't have any problem with us. It allows us to stay in the position to be able to continue operating the park, and if she will actually do what she is supposed to do in order for the other considerations of this contract, then it allows us to actually start putting in some real money and try to drive this thing forward, irregardless of Lynn. Doesn't matter. So if she goes ahead and does the transfer that has been, transfer of document that's been given to her, and signs the very simple resignation as a director, and we go ahead and have the shareholders meeting, special shareholders meeting, which is part of this attachment that you guys got, okay? Then we go ahead and continue on down our way and sign an agreement that says any money that comes out of a sale to Lynn, she gets 70% of it, we get 30% of it. And then we go on. You know, these emails that she's been sending, I mean, my goodness. You talk about not being helpful. All Alex is trying to do is say, we gave you money, Gail, you took the money, you signed on the bottom line. The contract says the shares are sold. Other considerations need to happen to get the rest of your money. We are trying to get some of those other considerations done, and she's not cooperating. Tony has tried to take it under his wing and be a nice guy about it. We're still not trying to be difficult, but obviously we have to protect ourselves. And even more important than that, we have to protect the minor shareholders. And it's not just Scott, it's Cochran, it's Terry, it's Howard, it's these other people that we haven't seen anything about these guys having some money or what that offer is. So we are the designated management team of SBMEI, of Ocean Adventure and Kamayan. And we've been kept out of the loop, and we've been, in my opinion, overly kind on this. I thought that we should have been at this point of the discussions back in June, but he wanted more time, and so we're doing it now.
Yeah.
This won't be a litigation that happens in the Philippines, it'll happen in Florida. You talk about how you and I met before, that was a handshake deal on top of a rooftop. This is a document recorded, with a recording, it's been recorded, signed, and money transferred. So it's a meeting of the minds and consideration given. I don't know how you can say it's not a binding document, but I'm not gonna get into a legal argument with you.
If I can chime in on some of the input from GPI and Brian, one of the huge milestones was getting this audit done. We finished that Friday. Paying our $5.5 million taxes, we paid that. In addition to that, how did we get that done? Through our CFO, Eileen, who's not being paid by SBMEI, she's being paid by GPI. They fronted the money. I mean, these are huge milestones where it's game over if we hadn't met them. And to me, the solution, the 70-30 solution to me, is in the best interest of all of us. Because if this deal, I don't know what your confidence rate is in the Jack Lim deal. I'm been kept out of the loop, so I haven't qualified
I
the
think you
client.
kept yourself out of the loop, Scott.
I'm-
Kicking him out of the park. That's a good start.
I have not done any due diligence to know who the guy is and whether the deal will go through.
Okay, can I now say my piece?
Yeah, but
The
Manny,
70-30 thing seems like something you need to offer to Gail.
You know-
As his attorney.
Can I now say my piece?
but I'll say yes, but as long as it's got the same tone that we just had. If it's gonna keep going on the way that you're going, then you can't be a spokesman for Gail.
No, that's a decision for Gail, not for you. I'm just saying that when I gave you your 2 minutes, so you better.
5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, there's no, number one, this is beyond my paycheck. This is a management matter. I'm just a lawyer here. And in fact, I don't even want to play this role. But it appears that somebody has to take the hit for this. I'm trying again to do what is good for everybody. Everything that you said looks fine with me, but except, Brian, I have to disabuse your mind again.
You have to
about
what?
Disabuse your mind about starting off with the premise that these are valid and binding contracts. And again, as I said, let's not talk about it now. I can give you my opinion. It's just an opinion.
We have already heard it.
No, it's not.
Okay.
I have thousands of reasons to justify my position. But that's not the point. What I heard from you, and which is stated here also in the contract, what I've done, let's do it this way, Brian. If the common premise is that we have to proceed with the consummation of the deal, that's going to be difficult. Because as far as I can see, and I'm just also echoing the sentiments of Gail, the sale of the shares cannot proceed. But having said that, number one, for a start, she's prepared to reimburse you the amount that has been advanced. Number two, I will convince her to pay you legal interest. Number
Pay
three,
what?
legal interest. Number three,
Legal interest.
yes. Number three, no. The problem is for us to meet halfway, you have to understand where we're coming from, right?
Okay.
And I'm even taking the side of Gail. I'm just trying to be as neutral as possible. So when I tell you that I feel that this contract is not binding, it's not taking the position of Gail. So you have to understand that. That's why I said, give me that opportunity to prove myself right and your lawyers wrong. Okay, if we have to go into that. But the thing is, regardless of my opinion, I understand from Alex's statement that there is a potential windfall that you probably feel that is due to you. That's why you're talking about 70-30. Now, my job now is to go back to my principal, and not only Gail, because I have to talk also to other people like Jack. You know, as far as Jack,
Other people.
No, you don't,
No,
man.
you don't.
No, the thing is,
Now, wait a minute.
no, it's important.
Eric and I said the same thing at the same time. You don't even, this conversation doesn't even need to go to Jack.
No,
This
no.
is a conversation
No, no.
about
Look,
the
let me
shares
explain
of.
why.
It definitely cannot go to Jack.
No,
You do not want to talk
let me
to Jack.
explain why. No, before you cut in, I have to emphasize this. All of you are assuming that this Jack deal will go through.
No, we're not.
We're not.
Because we're
That's-
You're not
really-
listening to
That's
it.
No,
my
no.
biggest fear.
Can I continue? Can I continue? Can I continue?
You can, but
Yeah.
we need to stop you when you make a statement that's
How can you stop me
completely.
when I have not yet completed my sentence? You're jumping. Look, I just said the reason why you're here is because you think the Jacqueline deal will push through. I mean, we never talk about anything before this happened. Now, I'm just saying, Brian, exactly what we're doing now will discourage the guy from even pushing through. In fact, Ocean Adventure is a small piece of the puzzle. And that's why I was even taking Scott to where we were going. Because to him, if this becomes too difficult, you can forget about it.
Why would this make it any more difficult, Manny?
Well,
This is,
Brian, it would. If he
It
knew
would.
that this was going on, it definitely would make it
Why?
more difficult.
number two, no,
No, what,
Because he's not like us. He's fairly just
it's a very
straightforward.
straightforward.
He wants
Well,
everything to be
okay.
fairly clean.
So-
And I was clear with you also when I sent the message. He has to be given the word that it is clean.
So we have
And
to
someone's
do,
going
we
to be
have
on
to
the
do this
hook for
together,
that.
Brian.
Someone's going to be on the hook.
You don't, you
if
don't,
they say to
you
Jack,
don't
this is
deal-
all clean, there's
yeah.
no disputes,
You
no
don't deal the
dissension.
goods that lays the
Right.
golden egg. That's what I'm saying.
okay.
Look, that's why
You're the one that's assuming that the Jack Glenn deal is gonna get
Yeah.
done. We are not assuming that.
No, let me
Okay.
because let's call a spade a spade. The reason why we're in this table is because we're anticipating that Jacqueline deal will push through. In fact, it states here with the intention of selling in full or in part.
That's with,
Okay, I'm
not
saying-
just to Jack, to anybody.
No, to anybody. I'm just saying that the business model really is to be able to acquire the shares of Gail, probably at a garage sale, and then turn around and then sell it to somebody else. I mean, let's be frank about it.
So let's stop talking about Jack, then let's talk about investing.
Yeah.
So whoever it is.
Whoever it is.
Yeah. Then Brian wants you as Gail's attorney to put forward the 70-30 split.
I
See
will.
what happens.
No, I will.
Is that
again?
legal?
Again, look,
Am I wrong?
I cannot preempt. I cannot preempt Gail. In fact, as God is my witness, I already started talking to Gail in that direction, and she has started moving in the right direction. But let me just suggest some rules in order to make sure that we all go in the same direction. Alex came up with a deadline this Friday. If this doesn't get done, then you go to court. I think we can agree, Brian, that this will not help anybody. If you're going to come here and ask me to make it as Gail is doing, can we at least agree on certain things? Number one, let's maintain the status quo for the meantime. Number two,
We've done that, okay.
I know,
Number one,
but-
Status quo.
Yeah.
Number two?
Number two, can you please stop communicating with Gail because it's not helping. She's getting pissed off, and I'm having a difficult time. No, that's why she designated me.
Okay, number two, don't talk to Gail, all right?
Yeah, don't talk to
What,
Gail.
do you have
Number
a-
three.
Do you have a number three?
Let's give it a timeline. Let's give it a timeline when I will forward. It's my job. I will explain to her whatever you say today, like the 7:30, etc. Let me work on her. The reason why I think you're asking me to help is maybe I have a certain degree of influence, but at the same time, it is built on trust and confidence. I have to earn the trust and confidence in the same way that I'm trying to earn your trust and confidence, that I'm trying to understand where you're coming from, and that I will try to protect the interests. But it's difficult to protect the interests of everybody, including Scott. I told Scott I will give him an LOI, but how can I do this right now?
Give him a what?
A letter of intent.
How can you give him a letter of intent if you're not even representing Lynn? So,
No,
listen.
no, Brian. I'm just a messenger here. Unfortunately, I'm the only one who has the guts to face the situation and explain to everybody because nobody
Oh
wants.
my goodness.
No, Brian, you should be the one doing this. You should be the one doing this. This is not my role. I'm just a lawyer.
Okay.
I'm just a lawyer.
All right.
So you know what
So do you have some points you want to make?
I got some.
Yeah.
I've got some in regards to what Eric said. Eric, I kept myself out of it as per our team's direction which was calm, stabilized. There's nothing calm about our banking situation. There's nothing calm about our legal situation. In our mind's eye, nobody, and I said this to the attorney many times, nobody would touch this property once they do their due diligence and they know all the pieces. Maybe I'm proven wrong. The offer was never explained to me until a week ago, and in my mind and Tony's mind, as I've explained it to the best of my recollection of our conversation, it's a good, all-encompassing, I call it a holistic deal, and it's dealing with all the pieces. And I like the deal, and I think it's good for me. It's good, and it's good for the shareholders. The problem is, what if it doesn't go through? All right, these guys have given all this goodwill to this point, invested millions and millions of pesos under the assumption that they own the shares. If they don't own the shares, what are they here for? What are they here for? Just because Scott's a good guy? Well, I think we've used up that goodwill. I understand, we're at the end. All right, I've used up all the goodwill of my friends, and we're about at the end of the line. So the other deadline here isn't just the Jack Lynn deal, it's the annual shareholders meeting. That we have to be well prepared for that meeting. And that's the other deadline that's forcing some of these issues.
Look,
to
Scott,
be-
I know that we came in as friends. I
Yeah.
came in as a friend, Brian came in as a friend, Tony came in as a friend. But at the end of the day, we still have to remain as friends, but we're still outsiders of the company. We're here to protect you, the founding all the shareholders, including Tim, Gail, and the company. At the end of the day, nobody should do an Arthur time. Now what we're doing is an Arthur time. No,
There are certainly similarities, that's for sure. And
Look.
there's a lot of similarities in the way Gail is treating you guys to the way she treated me. In fact, there's a lot of similarities.
But that's
And
what
what you
Gail
guys are doing here, there's a lot of similarities. It is what it is.
No, it's like
Call a
shares
spade a
only-
spade, right?
It's like a
No,
shares
but
only-
Arthur Tai was trying to devious
to
machinations.
get shares for
get
his
shares.
services. What are we doing here? Trying to get shares for a pittance? No,
You know what? You need to back off of that, because if you keep on with that, I'm just going to pick up the piece of paper and walk out.
Look.
And the hell with your friendship.
Brian.
No, but that being said,
Brian,
but
the
these
reason
guys
why-
are proposing a decent
Yeah.
solution. The only reason I'm here is I thought we might be able to discuss a solution. What I think you're proposing is a decent solution.
I know.
That's my
But-
opinion.
but again,
and
I have
the
to-
whole sales pitch that Scott just gave you about how important they were, you pass it on to Gail. That's part of the pitch.
Okay, so-
I agree with that. Let's
my
stop.
last
I
statement.
don't want to.
Brian, Tony, I know what you've done for the company. But now it's time to take it to point C. No, point C being to protect the founding shareholders and give them what is due to them. This is not what is due to
A holistic
Gail.
solution.
Wait,
This is not what is due to Gail.
and I would like to say two things. Number one, I think what you said, Manny, is a little bit inaccurate, that we would not be discussing this if it wasn't for Jacqueline. That's not correct. Because in April 2nd, it's there. Our personality coming in is really premised on this, right? So, as Brian said, he wanted to push it harder. I said, give Gail time, don't pressure her. Let's not force her to feel like we're bullying her, pressuring her. Somehow she's felt that, right? And we really have given her a lot of opportunities. The one thing that I really didn't like, and you can communicate to Gail in her last email, she ended her email to me, said, whatever happens, whatever we do, Scott has to be removed from management and removed from the company. She said this is personal to her, not business, which, it's all mixed up, right? But I told her the only reason I'm in this whole thing is Scott, and why would she write an email to me saying, no matter what happens, I don't care what you've done, Scott has to be removed. That's really unfair.
She always attaches something personal to every business deal.
Because,
and
I
that's
mean,
what I said, there's a lot of
obviously, if
similarities
it's personal
to what
to
she
her,
did
it's
to me.
very personal to me.
With how she's treating you guys. Very similar. She has to
bent
do
over
it.
We know
backwards
who
trying
she
to
is.
protect
Yeah,
this
she-
guy,
she just
and
can't
she
help
said,
it.
We
she said
know
her
who she
one
is,
condition
yeah.
is Scott has
There's
to
no
be
surprise
removed.
for me here.
Yeah.
Look,
And
what is
I-
it? Regards
I
to
mean,
that,
you guys took a
say
risk.
something about what?
Yeah.
Business
I
is
told,
business, a risk
I told
is a risk.
Gail, I told Gail, that is not your prerogative. If somebody actually does take over, you should give them enough leeway. That's why the guy is probably offering that much. And then I also told Scott, there should be some residual function. Maybe it's best for you to do a job that you really love best. And I'm trying really to get everybody together. But I understand your point. But again,
Let me have
going
my
back-
second point, so I can
Okay.
finish my piece. So the
Yeah.
first point is, it's not really accurate that we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Jacqueline, because we're trying to, for us to continue forward, and I've told her in so many words, it's difficult to have a personality. We made originally I made a 15-day loan just to get through payroll, and then it's continued and continued and
I
continued.
remember the discussion.
And it becomes really difficult when my partners and board are saying, "What the hell are you guys doing?" I mean, you don't even. If you're right, if you really have the shares, transfer the shares. If you don't, what are you doing? What's your personality there? So and I told Gail very kindly that this is increasingly difficult for us. So we would be discussing this with or
Yeah.
without Jack. And the second thing, we have had a very consistent position from the start, saying that we will come in, comp stabilize, and sell. And Gail said in the last email, well, I question your resources. What happens if a fence breaks? I'm like, yeah.
Or we
you're
lose a dolphin.
Or we lose a dolphin. I'm like, yeah, you're questioning resources that we've been putting in for the last 7 months. I mean, it's not really the time to question it. You should have questioned it maybe 7 months ago. And we're willing to continue in some reasonable time frame, but with or without Jack.
No, but again,
this is.
Yeah, well, what it sounds to me is like you guys are trying to lay a foundation for the future here.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great solution.
That could be a common premise.
And that your 70-30 split, I would suggest basing it on some sort of sliding scale. If the thing gets sold for $2 million,
Sure, because
then split
70 and
different.
30
But if it's over $5 million,
Look,
it's
Brian,
70-30.
let me suggest
But it's a
this.
good foundation, and
From
maybe
this
Gail
point,
will go for
from
it.
this point onwards, let's just talk about numbers. Numbers. You said 70-30. Let's just work on numbers.
I think we should go back to this for
No,
a
no,
second.
that's what I'm saying.
Because if she was willing to take whatever you want to call it, garage sale price, I mean, it was her decision, and she actually approached Brian. So if she was willing to take 200 back then, and then we talked about it and said, she's a founder, we need to give her upside as well. So it was 200 plus a 10% upside. And then I said, Gail, if you made a deal in March and you don't like it today, come back to us, offer 15, 20,
Can I-
do something.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you just want to look at the numbers. Let's not start with the premise or insist that the numbers can be justified by looking at this.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we've
No,
agreed with that,
because-
Manny. Let's move on.
No, because-
If it's 70-30, make the offer to
Yes,
Gail
so
and see if we can get it to
if
accept
possible,
it.
But
if
guys-
possible.
Use their contribution as the sales pitch.
But it's 70-30, you go forward with this agreement.
No, this.
No, but there's two
Manny,
different
all right,
things, Brian.
you
Brian.
talked, it's our turn, okay?
Okay.
All right? So you can't go forward your 3 points. You can't go forward with your status quo. Let's see what it connects here. None of us are willing to go forward with the status quo because the status quo is that Gail runs around saying that it's still her stock, but expecting the DMI group to come in and pour in resources, put in the time, put in the management, take the responsibility, all of these things.
Yeah,
And
we're
Gail says to us one day, when we were talking in my back porch a couple of weeks ago, she goes, it's just like with Arthur Tai. He had the authority to invest the money and do all of these things without actually having ownership. You should be doing the same thing. And we're going, what are you talking about? You want us to put in hundreds of millions of pesos, make a commitment to hire an outside CEO instead of having Scott, doing this on a pro tem basis, and for us to invest all this money into this while she still owns the shares. You can't do that, Manny. So you can say it's all about the money, but what are you going to do if it takes 6 months to get the Jacqueline deal done? Who's going to run the park in the meantime? Gail, she ran away. Tim ran away. The only founder that's still in the picture is Scott. And yet, she and Tim think that he's not up to the deal. He fully understands that he's not a CEO, but you know what? He's the only one that's still got feet on the ground. You know, so Gail, shame on you. You have no business talking about Scott in any kind of a bad way when you pick up and you run off. She's disruptive to the park. Every time she comes down, people, the employees are gone because she.
I think we all be glad she ran away.
She sits it, but she can't sit there and run away and
Deal or otherwise, if she was around, it would be a lot worse.
No doubt.
Thankful she ran off.
But why is she picking on Scott? Because we won't put out the $250,000 or $300,000 a year to hire a proper guy when we don't even have control of the shares. Come on, Manny.
Yeah, it's one of her criticisms that if we were going to take this seriously, we would have gone and hired a CEO. And we're like, with what? Come on, we have no cash. Who's going to put money in to pay the CEO? And you know, it's
Without
not,
having control.
And it's not a perfect situation, but you know, it could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
These guys are making lots of good points, but those points to be passed on to Gail. But what's the foundation? It's the 70-30 is the foundation you want to take going forward.
70-30 of whatever was supposed to come to us and to Gail, it gets split 70-30. But we have to get control of the shares, Manny. Let's assume for a moment, you're shaking your head no.
No, because
all right, so let's
look, Brian, I want to move forward.
I'm still talking here, all right? So there is a mechanism, especially in the United States, if we get to the point that we can't agree on who owns these shares going forward, if we can't sign a little piece of paper that says Jack Lynn, 70% Gail, 30% DMI group, if we can't do that, then there is a mechanism in the U.S. with the trust company and an escrow company that this dispute, the money that Jack Lynn puts forward for these shares goes into an escrow, and the court in Florida decides who gets the money, but Jack Lynn gets the shares. So
That is correct.
our dispute here about these shares, you're talking about it blowing this deal up with Jack Lynn. It isn't going to blow this deal up because there's a mechanism for Gail and her team and our team to be in a fisticuffs here. And Jack Lynn, it doesn't matter to him.
I can only operate based on what Alex stated in black and white. Anyway, look.
Who stated in black and white?
Alex, the email that Gail shared with me. Anyway,
And you talk about the time frame. We have been talking to Gail since April 2nd about her performing some simple tasks. How are we ever supposed to believe that she's going to do it? So, yes, we have to hold her feet to the fire.
That's exactly the point. If we're going to talk about again this transaction, your agreement provides certain conditionalities. I'm even surprised why you want to buy her shares. To be honest.
Frankly, us
Yes.
too.
Because you stated these are the conditions. If these conditions are not complied, then the sale is null and void, among others. That's why the motive becomes suspect. Because why are you even buying the shares? So
I don't even know what you said.
Because it's the only way to help. I mean, obviously, this was such a snake pit, and we all agree on that, right? The three founders fighting with each other. The only way to unify this thing and calm and stabilize was to get the Gail shares, Scott shares. It's very simple. Put it together, get controlling interest of JV China, which gives you controlling interest of SBMEI for the good and benefit of all. I mean,
Tony,
it was a
I
very
like the
simple
suggestion of
strategy.
Brian. Let's move forward. Let's not move forward. I like what you said about this escrow.
So what do we do?
Yeah,
About what, escrow?
About this escrow thing about.
Yeah, of course.
But again, I would rather focus on the split, on the 70-30, rather than focus on should we push through with the sale of the shares, etc. Because you can still get the 30% even if the shares are not transferred to you. That's what I'm trying to say.
Alex,
I'm not even agreeing to 30%.
I think Brian's point, I'm a practical guy. Who's going to operate this while all of this is going on? I mean, Heidi asked me yesterday, are we still involved or not involved? Because I'm scheduled to come here tomorrow, but I don't know, should I come here tomorrow or not?
Right now, the only game in town is you, to answer your question. This is pure speculations, Jacqueline.
Correct.
Look, let me...
Exactly.
No, so that's why. I talked to the guy, I know he's sincere, but this kind of a situation exactly makes him very nervous. So, I just have to say this. If this thing does not push through, it's not because he does not have the resource or the capability or the intention. It's because of situations like this. So now, if you agree with that, and at the end of the day, Brian, you just want to get what you perceive to be your fair share, let's not talk about this. Let's talk about, I already told Gail, we should consider being flexible about it. Whatever is the windfall from Jacqueline.
Okay, if you're not talking about this, what are you talking about, Manny? Explain that.
Okay,
If this isn't the foundation of the discussion, what is the foundation of the discussion?
exactly what Alex said in black and white also. Look at the demand letter. It's not about the sale of shares. It's about what you projected to be a windfall if you get the shares and you sell it to somebody like a Jacqueline. So,
It's a lost opportunity.
Yes, it's a lost opportunity.
So she
In other
needs to
words-
pay something for a potential lost opportunity, which is what you're saying.
Yes, exactly.
That's what we're saying.
You don't
And
have to do.
I'm just saying to Gail, with the first thing that she would say before I talk about numbers, how would we do it?
Yes.
So you need to bring up the escrow thing that Brian brought,
Yes.
up, so that can be done very easily.
That is a good suggestion, Brian. I'm just saying that don't get fixated about the shares. In fact, to be honest, Jack can get control of the company without having to buy the shares of Gail. No, I mean, let's not get fixated about that. But the thing is, I'll try to work on your proposal. I'll try to work on your proposal, the 70-30 or whatever.
You know, Manny, I think that you need to be a little careful here.
Hmm.
You're not the attorney for Gail.
Okay.
As you said, you're her friend, and you're trying to help all of us.
Mm.
But it is no question that you are that side of the argument versus this side
No,
of the
no.
argument.
Look, can I correct that? Can I correct that? Look, Brian, that's why I said I don't want to go into this discussion because if I want to be on her side, you're starting off with the wrong premise. I said
I
already
didn't.
from the beginning, that if you were to ask me, this is just a scrap of paper. If you ask me, she's not obliged to return to you the $20,000. If you ask me, but that's not the position I'm taking. I'm taking the position. Let's move forward. Again, I may be wrong, but that's my opinion.
That is your opinion
Yes.
as an attorney
Yes.
representing
No.
Gail. Are you silly?
No,
There's
no.
two different sides of this organ. There's two
That's
different
why I
sides
said.
here.
That's why I said, Brian.
And you're
if
trying
you
to
want,
take
if
the
you want
other
me
side.
to give you an opinion in writing, I will do that. But
Okay,
I don't want
maybe
to
you
waste.
should do that.
I don't want to waste
Because
this
maybe you
time.
need to stop representing SBMEI at all.
Can we back up? The whole point that we all came into this, I mean, Eric came in, did a hell of a job working with the team to get possession back from Arthur. Otherwise, those shares were worthless, right? Brian then worked with Gail to put a team together to continue on from that possession to save the park. Otherwise, the shares would have been worthless. So we're at a point where the shares, at least the company, is in a position where, we can have this discussion. But it's all for the benefit of SBMEI, for the three founders, and a fair, reasonable compensation for everybody that's helped, including
Exactly,
you guys.
Tony. That's our formula.
So
I agree with
let's
you.
talk about that formula.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree. Let's
stop
talk about
talking about
it
this
all day.
agreement for the meantime
Let's
because
talk about the formula.
Yeah.
let's talk about the
No, but no,
formula.
seriously.
Okay, because I can
Yeah.
take you to the promised land without having to talk about this agreement. Promise. Let's not believe this because it's going to be a legal matter.
Well, you
So-
may not be able to take him to the promised
So,
land.
And-
This is
if-
Gail we're
if
talking
And
I
you've
can-
sat there and you've told Gail that this is not worth the
No.
paper it's written.
No.
Of course you have.
No, that's why I said, if you ask me and then you don't believe, why
Okay,
even bother asking me?
forward.
I did not. I did
So
not.
if I can ask attorney to explain the deal as you did so well in my office to everybody here, because I have less than perfect mental notes in that
That would be
regard.
helpful.
So if you can just
Either you or explain the deal.
No, don't, no, just
Who's
let him
who's
explain
lead?
it.
Who's
Okay.
the lead
I'm leading.
contact?
I'm leading
Okay,
this
you
one.
explain
I'm
it.
spending all the time with Jack.
Okay, can you
Yeah.
please just tell us what we're
Yeah,
doing?
he's
What are we
willing-
fighting for?
He's willing to pay whatever it works out to 14.6 or something to the three stockholders. Okay,
That's
it
very
works out to
important.
1.8 for Scott, 6.4 for Gail, and 6.4 for Tim.
Okay.
And then he's gonna inject the additional money for the JV's China.
The 200 shares that are corporate owned.
It's $1.2 million has got to be put in to SPMEI.
Yep.
And that's on top.
Okay.
And then he puts in 1.150 for Virginia to the companies. It's going to be paid to Virginia for the deposit. Remember, Tim explained that to us very clearly.
Yep.
And then
Put
he
it
puts
in-
in
Yeah, 2.15, so the 1.1.
1.2 plus 1,150,000.
Yeah.
It's the 1.2 million is for operating capital.
Yeah, I got that part, I'm talking.
And the
about
1,150,000 goes, the company then pays that back to Virginia Deal.
Right. That
And
was
she
the
may
deposit
sue or
on
may
the-
not, but that's the deposit on
subscription.
a subscription she never followed through with.
Yeah.
So she was short, remember Tim told us.
Yeah.
And he's putting in additional money that would allow to take care of my group, maybe not as much as what we talked about before in April, but also there was $400,000 to go to GPI, your group, which we discussed with Tim, if you recall. Remember, I asked you, what's the number? And I said, is it 20 or 25 million, whatever it is, and you said,
30 is the number usually.
did I say that? Whatever.
That part
He-
sticks in my face.
Okay. No, I started, I think, a bit less than that, but either way.
No, you just asked me, with 30, is that enough for everybody? And I said, for me,
You said it's fine with you, but
fine
not
with
for
me.
Brian.
You said, what about Brian? I said, I don't know. I
So
can't
anyway,
speak
that
for him.
right now it's at 20 million, because this is Tim making this happen, not Eric, okay? These discussions, Tim made the sacrifice, because he believes believes he should get more than Gail, right? We all know that. He made the sacrifice, he said, Jack, do all this for these people, take care of those things, and I'll take the same as Gail, and that's what's been done. That's the final agreement. I strongly believe that Jack is prepared to do the deal, provided that nothing comes out of the woodwork. Because he's done a lot of due diligence, even though you don't think he could have. He has done a lot of due diligence. He's got huge resources, got a lot of people, including CIs, you can imagine, and he's really, really researched. He knows everything.
And there are timelines and figures in that proposal.
Yeah.
So when
So
you
how
get-
come Scott hasn't gotten a letter of intent?
As I said, they were preparing.
I told you, he was
Yeah, but-
prepared, but
yeah,
it just kind of got busy, and we weren't
I
sure
mean,
if you wanted one. And also, you could have,
I told attorney, yeah, it sounds holistic to me, and it's been.
Well, I
it's been
believe Jack
delayed.
was gone by then.
It's been delayed, no, it's been delayed for 3 weeks.
Which part?
You promised me a letter every week for the last 3 weeks, and it still isn't here.
Well, you should have asked me for it. I spoke to you about this at
Scott,
rallies
Scott.
just a
You
week
have to
ago. It's
understand.
less than that.
Okay,
And
when,
you
can,
didn't
when,
ask
can,
me.
when can Scott get an offer letter? The same that Gail and Tim have got?
I would imagine right away.
Tomorrow?
Yeah. I don't see any
That
problem
would be
with it.
helpful. That would be helpful if Scott got an offer, a written offer.
To date, I've only seen a picture
Sure.
of a
It would
fuzzy.
be helpful if Scott got an offer. Because we're here to
No, the
protect
reason
Scott
why,
as well.
no, the reason why we were hesitant, to be honest, to give this LOI, is because we're afraid that you're just building up a case. I mean, to be honest, I mean, that's why.
We're
but
sitting,
if we're,
let's go back to trust and reason.
yes, that's why I
Have
said,
we shown?
I'm explaining to you why. But now, if we are declaring our intentions to work together, then there should be no problem.
Let's sort this out. If it's a good deal for everybody, why would we oppose it? Why would we want to do anything else? But it's got to be reasonable, right?
That's why I said
Well, you've got to get your 30%.
Yeah, that's why I like his suggestion. I will go back to Gail about it. Let me work, but in the meantime, let's not do something to disrupt the situation. That's what I'm just asking for.
What?
Well, why not?
I have one other question. What are they going to make offers to the other shareholders?
Virginia.
Corcoran, yes.
Well, Virginia, the other part of the deal is they're gonna buy your building, which will,
Is that part of it?
Yeah.
So that's, well, part of it, but it's
That's-
for something else.
Yeah.
That's for separate.
but
But
it'll
is it-
help make her happy, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
And so if we were gonna go, if Tony and I were gonna go to Hong Kong and speak with Virginia, Tony is gonna make a pitch to let the heat off of Tim in jail. All right?
That was my intent.
So when you're making a deal with Jacqueline, okay, you're gonna return the money that she's advanced. You're gonna buy her building she's been trying to sell forever. But if she knows Tim is getting money for his war chest to get out of jail, how? I mean, she could take
Whereas
it or
then she
leave it.
doesn't get money for her stock nor her building.
So she's.
Sorry, what?
If she continues to, if she wants to use
Okay.
that as leverage to make sure Tim doesn't get his life saved, she gets nothing.
So
And
she's
a minority
okay,
shareholder.
she's gonna release Tim.
Yes.
I doubt
That's
it.
part of this deal?
What-
No, I
No,
doubt
no,
it.
no,
What
no.
I'm saying is at this moment in time, correct me if I'm wrong, she has not done a deal with Jacqueline. Okay, he's budgeted for it.
Yeah.
Okay, but if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen.
He
So, for
doesn't
example,
need- He doesn't need her.
Yeah.
Correct. I mean,
Yeah.
we can live with
yeah,
that. That's the point.
He's not a stupid guy. Okay, he knows everything,
Yeah.
and so the deal is with him.
That's good.
If she's going to play hardball and say, look, you can give me all the money you want, but I'm still going to fuck Tim, then she's not going to get anything from Jack, and she'll be a minority
Right.
shareholder of SBMEI. Simple.
And
And
we
she won't
agree
get a
with that.
subscription back either. Only fair, because getting her deposit on subscription back was legally ruled. The company didn't even have to pay her back.
Tim, our concern is also about Tim. It's not about just Scott, and it certainly wasn't ever about us trying to come in and make any money. Fortunately, Tony and I are both in the position that if you stuck $1 million in my pocket, I go, oh, that's nice, but it's not going to change my lifestyle. And I think that Tony's the same way. So it's not about that, guys. But I don't know how you, sorry, I started to go down the other route. But we've had multiple discussions about how to help Tim, how not to help Tim, how Tim's attorneys have gotten in the way and it's got him all screwed up. The fact that the U.S. Embassy's involved, and if Virginia won't say, okay, bygones be bygones, the guy's been sitting in jail, has been running for, it's enough. If she won't say that it's enough, then
It's her
then-
her decision.
It is her decision.
Yeah, of course it is. Of course.
And Tim has not made any sort of contingencies whatsoever with Jack, except for just a personal plea to, hey, try your best. Okay, but
Well, that's all he can do.
That's
You're-
right.
You're in
And-
touch with Virginia on this too.
Yeah, but-
Just- come on, Virginia,
The-
enough is
yeah.
enough. You won.
but
You
your
won.
problem
Let
is
him out.
you
No,
can't
Tony.
pay this woman
Tony,
to let
there's-
him out.
there's no
That's
way
we all
we
believe
can
that.
convince
You
her
cannot.
to
You
Well,
can't
you
say,
think
Virginia,
she's got
here's
that
the
much
cash.
money?
conditional.
Huh?
You think she's got that much money?
Movable.
I don't know her, so but certainly everybody else thinks she's got that much.
So
That's why we are prepared for a situation where if she does not want to cooperate just because to get the fund out of it, then we're prepared to leave it. I mean,
Okay.
it's her decision.
a couple other points of the deal. One was that Tim was going to give up on his 1.5 million claim for the money he said that he put in the JV.
That doesn't
China.
have anything to do with you.
Well,
at this point.
that was in dispute by Gail and I, because he wanted more shares of JV China. relative
That's
to-
water under the bridge in this deal, Scott. It's-
Well, I'm just verbalizing it to the group. I'm not disputing you.
Yeah.
But maybe you can say it better than I can, because I only.
it comes down to this. If you don't think your money's enough, then you just say it's not enough. I'm not taking it. It's that simple.
It does have something to do with me, because
Yeah.
he was trying to get majority shares
Yeah, but
of
if you-
JV China.
Yeah, I know,
Yes,
but
right?
he's
So-
he's
so
settling
anyway,
for a number.
The way I understand it is he's gonna get money for a war chest in lieu of that stipulation.
Yeah,
So-
so what? I mean, it's, if you're happy
If
with
it's
what you
taking
get
money
for
out of your
shares, you're
pocket,
happy.
then don't
That's-
take the deal, Scott. It's that
Yeah.
simple.
I
If
am-
I'm taking money out of your pocket, don't take the deal.
I am just talking about all the elements of the deal, including Tim's end.
I know, but those are
And then-
irrelevant to.
So let's go back to the minority shareholders, because it came up in the last board meeting, and it specifically Howard and Terry are worried about this deal going down, and then the rest of the minority shareholders being held with, I'm sitting there with no personality.
Like they are now, you mean?
Like they are now.
They'll be sitting just like they are now, and that's just the way it's going to be.
Well, you know, Howard and Terry, they, whatever.
Well, we don't
I
think
knew
that's
it was
okay.
there. They should,
DMI doesn't think that that's okay.
they should also be,
That
Consider
Terry
it.
and Howard, they're founders, or close enough to being founders.
Yeah.
Miriam, been there from the, we don't think that's okay.
but why wouldn't, I mean, if Jack's really
He would
prepared
like
to-
to buy everybody's stock,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to live to 150 years old. No, that's how long it'll take to talk to those guys. That's it.
Oh, I don't think so.
Yes, it will.
In fact, I think we can probably take the lead on that, Terry.
Well, again,
Well, go ahead. Go ahead. Tell
Well,
everybody.
we
tell
gotta have
everybody
something
that
to
they
talk
get-
about.
Tell everybody that they get the same as Scott. It works out to $6 and something per share, and see what they say. Certainly, Jack would pay it.
Give us, I mean, Eric,
What?
bless your heart, you've never said anything bad to me at all, but that's you talking. It's not the guy who's writing the check.
I know, but I'm the one that's dealing with him, and he's the one that's telling me he'll buy any stock. Just
So,
bring it, but I
That's all
can't bring
want-
that.
That's all I wanted you to say.
That's
Yeah.
what we want to hear.
Actually,
That he will
I
make
think,
an offer
I
to
think
the minority.
the point is well taken, so let's leave it at that.
And just because they have no personality, right? All these.
No, that's not the point
shareholders.
at all. He wants to buy every share that he can.
Good, that's all we want to hear.
That's all we wanted to
So
That's
hear.
exactly what we
We're
want.
agreed on that. Again, it's just about the numbers.
I mean, if you're making a tender offer and everybody gets the same price per share, then it's not a problem.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
So how do we move forward?
I don't know.
Well,
You can send me
Okay, timing.
send me an offer so I can see what I'm
Yeah, well, that would be a good start. But
Yeah,
timing,
yeah, that would
I
be
mean,
good.
I've been hearing, what, this will take 5 years, or, I mean, again, we're going back to a
No,
practical
he's-
sense. What happens in the meantime?
He offered to pay over a year or less to the 3 JV China stockholders. Tim said he would take it over 3 years, but I believe his offer to Gail was over 1 year or less than a year.
That's the 1 year.
Yeah,
You-
yeah.
You,
And it'd be the
you
same.
said 6 months to me when we were.
I think I told you that.
okay, so get an offer to Scott.
Yes.
That would be a huge start.
And I understand, if I was Jack Lynn, that would be what I would be doing too. I would be buying, I would take care of the JV China guys right off of the bat, because that gives me 71%, gives me super majority of SBMI.
Yeah.
I mean, if you wanted to be just a little bit of a prick, you just tell everybody else, well, you're in the same spot as you have been for the last decade, ever since you got involved in this with Tim. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Next question is, this amended lease has been dragging on. I don't know if that's legal, you know, I think SBMA is off today because of the strike. We've been trying to get them to meet again. Do you sense any dragging of feet from legal to somehow force us at a later date to lose the lease and have SBMA take the
They're
deal?
the ones trying to expedite the process, and we just wanted to do our homework and get the inputs of everybody else.
Yeah.
So if that is done, if you agree with my recommendations, we will again follow up the meeting with the SBMA lawyers and get this done.
Alex, you're still with us?
I just came back in, Brian. I've been catching every second or third word.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that Lynn needs to have an opportunity to talk to Tony and Scott.
And even with you.
I'd love to meet him, but I'm not the critical guy here.
But you are.
Tony is much more the critical guy.
The guy is prepared to talk to anybody that wants to talk.
But we really need Tony and GPI to keep the company going through the shareholders meeting and
We're
beyond.
agreed on that. Again, as I said, they're the only game in town right now. But we're just proposing this possibility.
You know, and really the problem I see, we kind of came in, the first loan was just that, right? And then all the effort, and, you know, it's not, it's time and, you know, some small expenses here and there, but there's no, when I try to tell Joey and Walden and my other partners what we're doing, and they say, well, where is this going? And I don't know. I mean, I'm just doing the best we can under a belief that we're doing the right thing. So I think meeting with Jack would, just say, look, you want us to keep doing this to the end of the year for another 6 months? I mean, for what? I mean,
But that's a great question, and of course I don't like to state always that you've done a lot to went out of your way. But again, that's why I said let's do the timelines, the figures. I see what I understand what you told me, what Brian told me. Because again I give it that suggestion.
You know, Tim has benefited hugely, as much as Gail has. What's fair? Both of them kick something over. But, so, again, I'm contradicting myself because it's really not about the money. But at the same time, you have to deal with the people that saved the park for the last 7 months in some kind of a fair and equitable way.
No, we agree on that, Brian.
including you.
Look, Brian,
Really?
I was the
Especially-
one who pulled you in, and Scott knows that. I knew that I needed you, but
I've done so much work.
No,
I
no.
mean, and I'll take it a step further, including some of the very key personnel. I mean, Lisa has bent over backwards through this whole thing.
that's why I told Scott.
We need
I
to.
told Scott. And
We will take
just
care
need
of
to-
those
We just
people.
need to recognize those people somehow. They've done so much. Fairness for everybody.
Manny, we will take care of those people.
Look, you will meet this
DMI.
guy. He's a very fair guy. I believe in him, but of course he doesn't want to get into any complicated situation. So please, I know your sentiments, Brian, and I will try to protect as much as I can. Being consistent with what's good for everybody. It's difficult. I can tell you it's difficult.
Well, and I'm going to go back to this agreement. This is difficult for us because Gail has been coming up with all kinds of silliness to not proceed with this way before the Jacqueline thing ever came up.
Yeah, you're correct. This issue between you came in before Jacqueline even entered the picture. So it's not because of Jacqueline, it's because you did.
And that's why I just said it was a bit inaccurate. And the one thing, honestly, Gail, I've told her, you're a founder. We want you to have the lion's share. And somehow she said, well, I just don't know. I'm like, Gail, the only thing I can say, I hope you find peace with your decision, right? And that's it. And I mean, we're working for
Correct.
Tim, for Gail, for
At the
Scott.
end of
We're
the day, it's
working
about
for everybody.
what feels right. And
But why would she tell me, no matter what you do, you need to remove Scott immediately? Come on, that's silly.
I know, but
It's silly.
That's why-
He's
you
here.
know
That's
why,
what?
Brian.
Let Jacqueline make that decision.
correct. It's not her.
Right.
It's not going to be her call anymore.
There's nobody in that park.
I'm just saying,
that
as
wants
an
her
example,
involved.
she's not helping us. She's not helping
I
the
know.
cause.
That's why it's also my job to get her to stand down. That's why it's difficult dealing with Brian girls, dealing with this woman. Of
I've
course, I
been,
need to deal with Scott.
there hasn't been any difficulty for me, none.
So let's keep it that way.
So what?
Why don't
Scott will get an offer. You will present the 70-30 to Gail, and
And Thursday, we have to talk with Alex on our plan for the annual shareholders meeting. Tony doesn't think it's gonna be a problem.
I think it's a non-event.
I do.
What's gonna happen?
By the way, we
Might
just
be.
found the shares that we assigned to
What's Arthur?
Arthur, the
Not
two
us.
shares,
Arthur.
What's he
are
gonna do?
immediately revert back to the assignee. the
Show up.
assignor
You're welcome.
when
We
he's no
don't.
longer
We will not
board
lock the door.
member,
You are more than welcome
which
to
was
come in.
JV China. So he doesn't even have two shares. to
I
show
mean,
up
it's
at
not,
the
again,
meeting.
it's not my call.
It's a non-event.
But I just thought that.
Well, I hope you guys are right.
when
I
all
hope
of
you
this
be
are
there with me.
happening, I thought we would
Remember
focus
all
on
these
this and do the
times?
shareholders
Oh yeah,
meeting
we'll be there for
when
you,
the
Scott.
situation
I was the
settles
only
down.
one in the room.
The problem with
No,
that
I wasn't in the room,
is
so I don't remember.
deals
I
anywhere,
remember.
especially of complicated ones like this, you don't have a time frame that anyone can have reliance on. Which is, again, coming back to this, doing an amendment to this with Gail that says, okay, DMI, or because it's a non-qualifying entity which she knowingly did business with, I'm signatory on it, Brian Giles as the agent for DMI. Here's the shares. Anything that happens with Jacqueline, I get 70% of it.
Not
She's
just
got-
Jacqueline, it's everybody, anybody, right? You're
No,
laying a
no.
foundation for.
No, it's Jacqueline, because look, guys, if we don't do something with Jacqueline and it takes 5, 7, 10 years of us running this thing, Gail's not gonna get 70% of that deal.
Well, you need to clarify that with her.
Jacqueline.
That's what you're talking about, the sliding scale, right?
Well, no, I was.
No,
I didn't-
you were on the
I-
downside.
I was
Right?
talking
Not
about
this-
the
not
sliding
the-
scale, not in
timing,
timing, but in
not
money.
timing.
But you guys can figure that out.
Yeah, no, I
Something
think,
down.
it's, we wouldn't be having a discussion about terms different inside that contract, except that there's been this windfall, this Jacqueline, that's this miraculous thing that's jumped up. Okay, great, fantastic, let's deal with that.
Well, put a time frame on that and say after 6 months, then it changes. Try that.
Well,
It's just my opinion.
if we have written offers of, letters of intent from Jacqueline, as long as that deal is pushing forward, trying to get it done, it's active.
What was your last, that's what?
It's still active.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's 3 months or 6 months, or
Yeah,
if Jacqueline takes a year to get it done.
We
but-
still have Gail screwing us up every
So what?
turn.
Well,
But it's
Just put a timeline on it.
But in the
Just put 6
meantime,
months on it. That's what
okay,
I-
but in the meantime, somebody's got to run the park.
I mean, one way to address that, we have plenty of project companies, so what we do, I mean, there's shareholding and then who's managing it, they get a management fee. So what their partner, they do this, we do that, there's a management fee. I've avoided that just because of the legacy of Arthur Ty doing, inappropriate deal, right? Signing a lease with Stonefly and taking money out of the company, it looks bad. In a normal situation, you charge a reasonable management fee, you get paid along the way, and that.
But there's
that
no money.
works. And there's no money anyway, but at least you can put it as a payable of the company. But really, we've completely avoided that. I mean, that's why I've been very careful. I pay for my own meals. I don't charge anything. I pay for my own gas. I don't take a director's fee, nothing, because our deal was with the shares.
Tony, why didn't you accrue something to reduce some taxes then? I'm just curious.
Because
I mean, they were
exactly
looking
that.
all over the
Because
place.
of the legacy of Arthur, really.
Yeah, but it's all
Are
good.
you saying, Brian, that you're prepared to amend this agreement, to reflect what we discussed today?
Absolutely. Okay, Manny, Tony has been trying to amend that contract since June.
Okay. So the.
Actively trying to amend it since June. There's 20 emails trying to get that contract amended before the Lynn thing came up. Yes, my goodness.
Look, I was never part of this
I-
transaction.
okay,
You have to understand.
I get it.
I'm coming in court, this thing was called to my attention, what, a few days ago?
Okay,
I was
and
busy
so
doing SB.
Alex's deadline is not an unreasonable thing for her to say, yes, on the Jacqueline deal, we will do 70/30. Here's the transfer, here's my resignation as a board member. You guys have got the shareholders agreement, or call for a shareholders meeting. That's a week from Friday. Let's go. Then Jacqueline comes in and hands $7 million over to Gail and us in a combination, and she gets 4.9 million of it. Is that right? Yeah. Then she gets $5 million in her pocket. And then actually through us, through the mechanisms that
Can I say something that
we
we
have,
find personally offensive?
whatever.
Because it's a quote from Gail. Now, I just want you to understand how difficult the situation is for me. I will quote it. If you make a pact with the devil, you know who the devil is, right?
Me?
Yeah. So,
Oh my God.
no, I'm just saying
It's
that.
just unbelievable.
No, I'm not trying to. I'm just saying that it will be a difficult challenge for me to convince her.
Okay.
And I'm stating the obvious. So, let me get back to her.
You came in here, Manny,
Yeah.
and you kept talking to Brian, kept talking to Brian. I mentioned it, kept talking to
Yeah.
Brian. Alex is the one that's talking to you.
Okay.
Tony's trying to talk to you, but you keep talking to me. This isn't about me. okay? It's not about Brian
Okay, let's get
Giles.
back,
Why don't you want
we were
to
on a
talk to me?
constructive.
Made the devil with,
That's definitely the problem.
made the deal with the devil. She contacted me.
You know how that makes you feel, making a pact with it. Anyway, Brian, let me do what I have to do and then get back to you. I'll think
Okay.
about what you said. I think this meeting is a step in the right direction.
It's
So-
taken a lot longer than I thought it would. I thought
Well,
we'd
you
be
said
done in
probably
15
it would
minutes.
just be a short meeting.
Well, man, you've got your work cut out for you for sure.
I know.
But
Say well
back to
challenge.
back to the deadline. Obviously, they have to put a deadline. Gail agrees with this. There's no doubt about that.
Of course, I understand.
And what's
I'm
wrong
not
with
saying-
Friday?
Yeah, I'm not saying it's gonna
Has,
work, but.
is there a deadline that Jack Lynn has imposed on how long the validity of the offer is? She
No.
has a written offer,
No.
right?
How does
No,
he,
just open
how does
offer.
he want to deal with the
His-
annual shareholders meeting? Is he leaving that up to us as
Yes.
status quo?
Yeah,
that's up
why
to you.
would
He's
he
trying-
have anything to do with it?
Well, you said we
No,
thought.
no, he would, if he puts money down before, he would wanna have something to do with it.
You would think so.
Yeah.
And,
If it's ink on paper and notary and cash deposits made, he's gonna have something to do with it.
and Attorney Q was saying.
And he
we-
should be.
Yeah, he will, for sure, I mean, he expects it.
Attorney Q was saying we should think about delaying the annual
That's
shareholders
what-
meeting by a couple weeks.
Which actually isn't a bad idea.
Yeah, I
Well,
told me about
I-
it, but,
Because it gives Jack some time to put in some real money.
Sure.
I
You
mean,
know,
it's-
but guys, you can always have a special one 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, what,
It's
what-
just a 10
what do
I
you
guess
do?
the only reason that Scott would worry about is that Virginia, you know, I mean, you don't wanna invite her twice in 1 month.
it's not only Arthur type, but Virginia.
Yeah, nobody's cared about,
Is Virginia,
concerned about
I
Arthur
thought
Ty
she was, I thought she was okay
Yeah.
with SBMEI as long as.
Yes, but, of course.
showing. She would have some questions.
Arthur will have some move. He will.
Yeah.
We're
it's-
hearing it in the message traffic. He's got some plan for the annual shareholders meeting.
What-
I
what
don't
can
know
he
what
do?
it is.
Really, what can
Nothing,
he
he
do?
can't do anything. And obviously, I would imagine you guys would do the same thing you did to you last year.
Yeah.
Just have the place completely.
Just create the
fucking locked off.
perception, Tony,
No,
that we are.
he won't be on the list because he
against
won't have any shares.
Yeah.
From a pure legal point of view,
Right. That's it.
is there any requirement to have that annual shareholder meeting according to?
It can be
articles
delayed
of
by
Can be
license?
several
delayed.
weeks if need be.
Yeah.
It's an option.
Let's,
So,
why don't we just
Alex
focus on
Cruz
this
didn't
one?
think it was a bad option. He did.
Actually,
I agree.
Of course, that
Man,
says it can be
No, no,
delayed.
no, I
He
take the
said
legal
it's
minds,
not
I'm just
the worst
saying,
option. He
I
said
just.
it's
Focus on
I'm
this.
not afraid of it.
I'll talk to him Thursday.
Manny, it's a simple concept.
That's why I said,
We're
let's focus on the simple concept and then let's delay the shareholders meeting for the meeting.
If
You
we
don't
think
need-
it'll help, delay it.
Partner,
Yeah.
why do you need to? You can get that done in a few days.
Okay.
I can
How do
get
we
that
avoid the
into
worst
this, but-
case scenario? Can I ask this
Attorney,
question?
the other, Gail's other
Wait, wait,
issues.
wait, hang on,
I
Scott,
need to- we
let's
need
ask
to-
this one. How do we avoid worst case scenario?
If Gail just absolutely doesn't go for a deadline and wants to waffle on or whatever, and then we have to tell Brian Gordon that this is stalled, that's not a very good option.
Well, I don't know that I don't think that you have to tell Brian Gordon that. I think you tell him that the DMI group is willing to file the whatever legal thing needs to be filed in Florida in order to force these shares into an escrow.
I'd really rather not do that
Of
at all.
course.
That's what I'm saying. So
I
what
answer-
happens is if she's just being uncooperative, then we need to come up with a pretty good excuse, because we do not, it's not just Brian Gordon.
Well-
It goes a little bit worse than that.
Well, okay,
So
there's.
we did come up with an excuse that this has to be put off for a while.
Well, there's a perfectly good, I don't agree with that line of thinking at all. If you agree with what we're trying to do here, then you can